Boom, and we're back, everybody. Welcome back to another Tuesday night chat with the Muskrat, Mr. Skip Stewart with Clearview Outdoors, Zach Murray with the River Warriors. Well, we're all River Warriors. We like the original OG three-pack. And I actually had somebody ask me the other day, is like, who named you guys the River Warriors? I'm like, it wasn't us. Somebody else, I don't remember who in the community called us that because we were fishing in some crazy stuff. Well, because we kind of do and always have kind of fished in some crazy stuff. And it was like, you guys are nuts. And somehow River Warriors come out of that. And, well, it kind of feels good on the ego. So we kept it. We'll stick with that. That sounds good to me. But welcome in, fellas. Thanks for taking the time to tune in with us tonight. Before we get going, we'll stop and say hello to some folks that are tuned in early. We had folks in chat waiting since 5:30 for this thing to get started. I see Wabash Nate in there real early. You got Sampy in the house. Tommy Long, Mr. Minnow Dunkers. What's up, buddy? Dead Sea Pirates Fishing's in the house as well. Michael Grumpy Vet. He's been back and forth. I was talking to him on another live just a second ago. There's Lynn, Catfish Fever and Outdoors. What's going on? Nubbies is out there. What's going on? Catfish with us. What's going on, Chris? I'm sure V's not far behind. Crappy Day, Darren. What's happening? Let's see. We're a little early. There's Kevin Walters tuned in for Monster Cat Catfishing. What's up, Kevin? There she is. I knew it. V is right there, right behind us. And one of our old time fishing buddies right there.
Harley Neal.
I got a Harley Neal.
Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, he sent me a text today.
Did he really?
Well, I sent him
There's old Paul.
a copy of that video. I wanted to make sure he's seen it.
There you go. There's Paul Edmiston. What's going on, buddy? Thanks for tuning in.
Paul.
Fat Boy Eric's Adventures. What's happening? We got Anthony in the house as well. And so folks are coming on in and grabbing a seat and pulling up a chair. But, a lot of you guys have heard about or seen. There's Barney.
Old Barney.
Barney's keeping the riffraff out of here is what he's doing.
Yep.
Greg Burgess in the house. JG Hill. What's going on, buddy? Everybody needs more cowbells. Ain't that right?
That's right. More cowbell.
So anyway, it has gone around like wildfire through the community, at least in our neck of the woods or our area. Skip has put an absolute Ohio River giant in the boat last week. And, I don't think anybody, unless you're from our area, you just don't realize how special this fish is. Because fish like this are very, very rare, very few and far between. I got to be honest, when Skip caught his 65, was it 2 years ago?
It's actually been almost 4.
4 years?
I think it'll be 4 years next month.
Jackie's in the house?
No. In April.
So 3.5 years. Wow.
Yeah.
There's my old time broadcast brother.
Creole.
Hey, Creole.
So when Skip got the 65 a while back, I thought, wow, I didn't even realize we had any fish left that size in our area. And then Skip catches this 85. And I know we've got a handful, and I'm probably not far off. I'm guessing a handful or so. We had a 100-pounder landed down here 2 days ago. By John Baker. Kevin Wild, I didn't see that yet. Of course, I ain't been on Facebook at all, and ain't been on the in crowd. But that's a monster. I'm not sure where down here he is. If he's just talking about your area, and I'll just leave that out because that's one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to give away our areas and information, and it's not for the sake of we don't want people to go and catch that fish. Who's the only person we don't want catch that fish?
The pay laker idiots.
Yeah, the commercial guys. So
that's right.
If we withhold information, believe me, it is only for the good of the fish. I nicknamed Skip's fish Houdini because somehow it has escaped all the hoop nets
Yeah. Hey, I
all
seen
this.
one of those guys out that day. I mean, just
Yeah.
right down river from me.
Right, exactly.
Of course, I was, I don't think he's allowed to sit up where I was at, but
V's got it right there. Pay liquor, blink, 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 blink.
but yeah,
So
that was 4/27/21, Roger.
21. Wow.
Yep.
No kidding. Curtis, what's going on, buddy? So yeah, fish like this caliber they just don't come along very often. So for Zach and I know watching this video Skip put out. Now I'll tell you that if you haven't seen Skip's video, it's a definite must see. The quality of his video is really, really good. And of course, anytime you put a giant fish in a video, it's worth a watch. But Skip did a great job with editing and getting this all on film, and did it by himself. An 85-pounder by himself. The link is in tonight's description. So if anybody hasn't seen the video yet, when we're done tonight, just click on the information there, and that'll take you right to the video. So be sure to check it out if you haven't already. But I'm going to quit yapping here for a minute and let Skip tell you all about this fish and what led him to put this fish in the boat. And
Skip, walk us through your day up to that point. What all you went through to get to that place?
There you go. That's what I meant to say.
That's good.
Without telling everybody exactly where he's at. That's not the point. The conditions, I guess. Describe them and stuff. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
We've already asked Skip. See, we already know the answers, but I know that was the first thing we wanted to know. We wanted to know everything. So I'm sure he's had to tell the story a bunch of times, but
Jim's in the house, and I didn't realize that was Zach all cleaned up.
Yeah. So, started out, got down to the river before daylight, got everything set up for the boat, and started to try to catch some bait. I had some frozen bait, older frozen bait, and there were some skipjacks that me and Roger had caught earlier in the year, or earlier in the fall, I guess. But really wanted some shad, because I know this time of year, once you get to a certain time of the year, it just seems like, in the late fall, all through winter till spring, to me, I'd rather have shad than anything. And so I wanted to get some shad, and I literally when I got taken off in the boat, scanning around, I mean, the whole screen was just lit up with these small shad.
What kind of screen? What was you using?
My Garmin, my side imaging,
Did you use live scope too?
My down and my whatever the other
live scope.
I hadn't broke it out yet.
Oh, okay.
But the shad were so thick in there, those small ones. These are so small. They were most of them were just going through my 5/8 net. So, they were actually making a wake in front of my boat. It just all in front of my boat was like rising up. It was insane. And so I always carry a little 5-foot 3/8 nets, and so I threw it one time. I mean, I had enough for the whole live well. So I thought, okay, this might be all I can get. So, because a lot of times they work. You put 2 or 3 of those on a hook, and we've had great success with them, because that's more likely what they're eating anyway. So then I got to thinking about, I had that live scope, and I haven't used it a lot, and that was really one of the main goals that day, was to use my other electronics, because I've been studying up on them. And so I broke it out, and all the way, I mean, I scanned forever, and all I could see was that all those little marks. Then all of a sudden I came across some big marks, and I thought, man, maybe these are, so I went ahead and threw on them. got like 5 nice shad, 8, 10 inchers. And so I just dumped them right on the floor, and I hurried up and threw again because they were still on the screen, and got like 3 more. And then they just disappeared. And it was back to all those little ones again. So I gathered all them up, put them in the live well, spun around, went right back through that same area. Bam, they popped up again, right on the live scope. Through, bam, got 2, 3, 4 more. So I did that until I got, I don't know, I at least had a couple dozen, maybe a little more. And I ended up scooping out all those little ones, except for a few, because I didn't want them to smother the bigger ones. And so I got bait. I was good to go. And for some reason, I just, with all the fronts that was going on and everything, I just kept thinking that those fish, might be in deep water because they're so pressured from all that. And that's what I had on my mind. So in the section that we fish, or I fish usually, there's a certain section where I know there's deeper water, the deepest I know of around that I could get to from that point. And so I headed straight down to it. I did scan a couple areas before I got to the deepest water, and seen some activity at the one, but wasn't sure exactly what it was because they was all up higher in the water column. And so I went on down to the deepest hole. I knew it was around 50 some feet, and it was like ghost town. I mean, I wasn't seeing nothing, so I didn't even set up on it. And I come back to another spot. There's a big ledge that we've all fished. Zach and Roger, they know we've all fished it together. We've had some good action there, but it's usually when the water's higher. But I thought I'd give it a try anyway. I sat there for about an hour, nothing. So then I got thinking about, at least at that one spot that I scanned, there was some kind of action, there was some kind of activity. So I thought, I'm going to go back up there and scan that a little heavier, a little harder, and see what I can see. So when I came downriver, I was way out from the bank. So I thought, I'm going to scan up, the side of the bank, see if there's any bait, hanging out or whatever. So I scanned it, and there was bait, along, just kind of scattered, on the, just out from the, in the shallows, there was some scattered bait there, but I was still getting all those big marks. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to start up where it's the heaviest of all these marks. I said, I know they're not catfish because I just didn't feel like there was catfish. There's too many. And they were up off the bottom, like 10 feet and up. And but I said, but maybe if they're feeding on something, then, there might be some catfish down there scavenging around. So I thought I'd set up there just as it drops into the deeper water. And I thought, man, I got everything set up, got all my rods out. And the baits that I was using, I was cutting the head off. Like I said, I had like 8, 10 inchers. I think I might have had a couple that were almost 12, but most of them were like that 8 to 10 inch. But I would just cut the head off, cut another section and another section, throw out the tail. And then some of them I would cut the gut pocket off of that middle section. We call it a sponge bob. It's only about 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. And so, got all those baits out. I think on that setup, I only did like 6 rods. I just wanted to see if I could get something. And I don't know what that is that come up.
I'm trying to move it, but
it's your SpongeBob piece.
Oh, yeah. There you go. There it is. Yeah. So anyway.
That's the exact piece that caught the fish, isn't it?
That is the exact piece that caught the fish. It came off in the boat.
So you guys hear it constantly. People say elephants eat peanuts. You don't need a giant piece of bait to catch a giant fish. This is Skip. I'm going to go on a limb and say you've caught more of your big fish on this exact size piece of bait right here than anything any bigger.
All three.
All three.
The 60, the 65, and the 85 came on a piece just like that.
Wow. Let me get that off there.
So I break out the live scope and I start honing in on them, those marks. And every now and then I could just get a complete clear picture, and they were spoonbill. I mean, I could see the snout, the mouth open, the belly, and all the way to the tail. I mean, there was no denying it. And then, I could get on another one that was higher up, and bam, same thing. That whole place was just loaded with those spoonbill. So I sat there for an hour or so, nothing. And I think I set up on another, I just kind of bumped down, set up again. And then there's a particular spot that I always check. And that back 4 years ago, it'd be 4 years in
April or March,
the 19th of January.
Oh,
the 19th of January, I caught a 60 and a 43 on this spot. Okay. And I marked it then, and I've always checked it every time I'm down there, because I mean, it was just a special day that day too.
Yeah.
I caught them like 20 minutes apart. I mean, it was insane. And that day, the fish were just biting. I caught a lot of fish that day. But so anyway, I scanned that, but I left that live scope on it, and I had it at my helm. And as I was going by looking at my side imaging, I was scanning into that. It's a lot of junk down there. And on the back side of it, clear down at the bottom, I mean, I couldn't tell how big it was, but I could see movement like a tail. But right on, I mean, it was like it was blending right in with the bottom. And I was going to set up on the spot anyway, if I could. But that just, I was like, yeah, at least there's some activity, that's a catfish. I'm thinking to myself, that's a catfish. He's on the, he's close to the bottom. He's in a spot that I know I've caught fish at before. So the wind was so strong at that time. The wind had picked up through the day. And, it was blowing me. I couldn't use spot lock because it would just blow me around backwards. And one time I turned the spot lock off, and I got up to like a mile and a half, almost a mile and a half, it was pushing me upriver. The wind was. I was like, how am I going to set up on this? And then I remembered that trick when some of us used it, and Chris, I'll give a shout out to Chris Souders because he did a video on it, I believe. But you put the anchor out the back. So I did that about 50, 60 feet before the spot. I threw that anchor out, and then I went on up past it, and I was about 70 feet. The back of my boat was about 70 feet to the stuff I wanted to fish. And then you put your motor on, you use the navigation button, or a lot of guys call it the north button. And I put it on like 2. I think I did 2 first, but it just wasn't quite enough. So I did 2.5. And then you line it up where you want the back of your boat, and it locked me in. I was locked in. Got my baits all out, and probably wasn't 15 minutes. And I look over, and that rod is just down. And
real quick, Skip, tell them why you had to put the anchor out the back and use the trolling motor to pull you forward.
Because of the wind.
What? Because you didn't have two anchors.
Oh no, actually I did have two anchors.
You didn't want to use two.
I didn't think about doing that.
Sorry, Nate.
I think it's easier the way you done it.
Yeah, I think it's
two
easier
anchors.
too, because it's hard enough anyway, to get that working. But it's actually easier, I think. Now, if I was in a lake, because that's the other thing, you got the wind blowing you up, but you also still have current, even though it was very, very little. There was still some current. So I guess I would have probably had to even went up further. I would have had to go up so far though and actually my second anchor, I think I only have maybe 100 or 150 foot of rope on that. My front anchor, I have 300 foot. That's the one I actually threw out the back. I guess I could have done it but I don't think the other one would have held me, because it's not as heavy. I think it's only a 10 or 12 pound, with them. It's not a bell, but it's got like 3 prongs. I guess they actually call it a river anchor at Walmart.
Yeah.
I don't consider it a river anchor.
Not for a big boat, not for a full size boat.
No. So anyway, I did it that way. I think it's very effective using that, and you're utilizing your trolling motor. I would have been using spot lock anyway, so I didn't even move. It kept me right locked in. Well, I was moving because the boat was going like this the whole time.
The rod doubles over, and then what?
Hi.
The rod doubles over, and then it's on.
The rod doubles over.
And the video begins.
Somehow, now see, I've started this new thing with running the 2 cameras. I have a remote that I just push the button and bam, they both kick on. I love it. But where I'd went so long without using, I never turned it on the whole day. This was at like 1 or 1:30 when I got set up on that spot, and so it must have timed out. I don't know if it timed out or the camera's timed out from it or what, but I went to push it and I seen it was off. And so I went and turned on the one at the helm, and then I turned on the one on me and ran up and grabbed the rod. And as soon as I pulled it up, it didn't hardly move. If you notice in the video, the rod just keeps bending. So it was almost like right off the bat, I knew I had a decent fish. And, the more I was fighting it, at first it was just like a steady pull. I was getting a little bit on him, but he was also coming at me. He was kind of coming at an angle, and I don't even think he knew he was hooked yet, because there was no jerking, no, head shaking. It was just a constant pull. And, the more I got it coming, and I even said, I think in the video, I said, I don't even think he knows he's hooked yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just shortly after that, he just strip dragged. Then I knew for a fact, I knew I had a good fish. And, that's when I started getting really excited. And then it was like he started trying to go under the boat. And I just kept picturing, oh man, he's going to break off. He's going to touch that line's going to touch the bottom of the boat, and he's going to be gone. I started panicking. I was like, don't go under the boat. Don't go. And then, when I was kind of fighting him, then, he started stripping again, and he started moving around. Then that one time, he just went, all of a sudden, like turned toward me, and I got a bunch of slack,
Mm-hmm.
And then bam, he was pulling again, and man, it was intense. And
how did you keep that thing out of the anchor line, man?
Well, that was one good thing, that he was on the other side. So that I had the anchor on the I actually had it on would have been the driver's side. I've got a little, it's actually a handle for the swim platform. And a lot of times I just tie off to it, or I'll put my drift sock out on that. It's like a metal, aluminum handle. But
real quick here, you got a question. Somebody wants to know if you was using braid or mono.
Mono. I was using mono.
The only real question I had was because this fish came from the port side of the boat, which is my side of the boat. So my only question was, how come I didn't get invited, Skip? That would have been my fish.
Well, it was
no,
kind
I'm
of a
playing, buddy. I'm so happy for you.
Last minute decision, and
no, you go right ahead. Tell your story, buddy. I'm just teasing you.
But but yeah, Zach, I was thankful because if he actually, I don't know if you noticed, he went right back and came up right by the back of the motor. That was the first time I got a glimpse of it, because all I seen was white belly. I didn't see any size. I seen it was a big fish, but I was thinking around the 60s again. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I was thinking. And but then when I seen it roll out there in front of me, I knew that was bigger. I was like, geez, this thing is huge, But yeah, if that rope would have been on that side, it could have been I still think it would have been under it. But I don't know about in the beginning of the fight. In the beginning, he could have possibly got caught up into that. That's a good point. I never even thought about that.
I didn't know where your anchor was at through that whole video. I knew from talking to you, I know you said you threw an anchor out the back, but yeah, I just kept thinking, man, he's going to get in the anchor. Even though I know you got the fish in, I still was worried about it.
Yeah.
I don't know where this bit. I don't know what.
So, and then it was just, I need that net. I need that net. I tried to get it two or three times, and he would, he would pull me down, and then I finally got him. He was kind of running from the net, but then all of a sudden he just kind of turned, and I got the head in. And once I got the head in, I just kept kind of
swim. He'll swim in once you get their head.
Yeah,
in there, they go into it.
He kind of finally swam in, and I just flipped it, and he was in. And man, I was stoked, I guess you'd say. I knew it was a big fish, the biggest fish I'd ever caught, and never dreamed it was that big. But I knew it was bigger than the 65. So I guess I was probably thinking in the 70s. And as you see, when I tried to get it in, the net was so, I've got that 150, and it's a little deeper. It's a little wider, and it's a little deeper. And standing on the edge of my boat, on the side of my boat, I pulled up as far as I could go, and it was still, I couldn't get it over the side. So that's why I put it back down. I was like, what am I going to do? And I thought, well, roll it over, so I rolled it over and got hold of the other part. And then, I still struggled. I mean, I struggled hard. I don't know if you heard me, but I was grunting just to get it up over that side. And, man, and then it just kind of slid down in there. And, I knew she was a tank, like Zach calls his, or Roger calls his, but I call him a big pig. It was a big pig.
That's a pig, man.
And man, it was crazy. Just the drilling, and I was starting. I guess getting that in, and then trying to get it in the weigh sling, get a weight on it. I mean, the first 3 times I weighed it by myself, and actually my chest camera died right after that, right after I got it in the boat. And I weighed it, and it said 88, 89. It kept going 88, 89, 88, 90. And so I did that 2 or 3 times, and then Lana called. I sent her a pic. I sent you all a picture of it in the net.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when it was in the first picture I sent? And I sent it to Lana too. Well, she calls me and wanting to know about it and stuff. And I said, hey, I said, FaceTime me, and I'm gonna hold this up and see if you can get a picture of it. And she did get a picture of, I think it said 87, but there was a real bad glare on it. And that's what she said. It kept glaring. She couldn't get it really clear. She snapped a bunch of pictures and she just couldn't get a good picture. So then I finally took that one and, or did it by myself, did the timer thing. And then I really wanted to get one of it sideways, because that's the way we usually always do. And that's how you can really see the belly and everything. And every time I do my phone, that 10-second thing, at the time I push the button, get back to the fish, get it up, and I get it almost up to where I need it, and it go off. And I did that, I don't know how many times, 3 or 4 times. And it was, and then that one time, I started breathing so heavy that I had her on my lap. I just had to sit down, I was sitting down, and I was like, I was just so out of breath. And I said, I'm sorry, girl.
Heart attack precursor.
Because I was worried about her too. I wanted to get her back. And man, and then see, I could have got it. All these here are off of my GoPro.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't think to just hold it sideways in front of the GoPro. And I did, through everything that was going on. I just lost track of it, I guess. And but I'm happy with what I got.
When you first sent this picture to us, I was like, man, if that's 85 pounds, he's stronger than I thought. And then I realized this picture was just taken in the middle of you trying to hold with this fish. It wasn't a pose. You were trying to get in position.
Yeah.
Because it's way bigger than it looks right here.
Yeah.
As you could tell in these other pictures, it's a giant.
It's a freshwater shark. Do you like that title? I don't know where that just popped in my head. Freshwater shark.
I like it. We was talking about titles beforehand.
I had all kinds of things going through my head, but I like that one. And then releasing her, was awesome.
It hung out for a while, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. She just kind of, I think she was tired too.
There.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But she's still down there. And she can be caught again someday,
Yeah, me and Roger tried.
She might have still been wore out.
She might. And now he knows how to use his watch to take the picture.
Yes, Matt Stonefly. I was talking to him, and he's like, "Well, you can use." He goes, "You got a smart watch?" And I was like, "Or an Apple Watch?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he goes, "Well, you can use that, right?" I said, "You sure?" And as I was talking to him, I had my phone on I was in my truck. But I was parked, and I looked it up, and sure enough, man, you can I said, I could have used my nose, because I could have had it up and used my nose, and bam, got the picture,
Yeah.
But
I've never used it. My phone, I can use the stylus to take a picture.
But it was everything I could do to hold her, like that. I mean, it was.
Well, not only that. Hard. To lift the fish one time, to get a picture or to weigh it is one thing, but to lift it over and over and over again, trying to get the weight right, trying to get a picture, trying to hold it for video, trying to hold it, for Lana to see. I mean, you were curling 85 pounds.
I was whipped.
Yeah.
When I finally sat down, man, I think I sat there for a half an hour, and I just didn't even care if I got a bite. I was just soaking it up. It was just like that adrenaline was like oozing out of me.
And how many days did it take to recover?
At least 2, maybe 3. Yeah, the next day, man, I was sore in places that I ain't been sore in a long time, man. It was.
Harley says your adrenaline got you. He said you probably couldn't lift it now.
Yeah, I might not be able to.
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody asked about the line. It was, I do use mono, and it was 30, it's 30-pound Andy.
Yep.
And I think I told you guys, I don't know if I said that in the video or not, but it was on one of the brutes. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's one, I've caught some like 20s and 30s with those, but never really caught a huge fish with them. But it sure paid off that day. But I was wanting why I broke this out. Just from that one fish, this thing is all chewed up, and I'm definitely going to retie it. You
need to retire it, not retire it.
Huh?
You need to retire it, not retire
it.
Yeah.
But
get your replica made.
Kinked, and it's not frayed so much, but it's like kinked up and stuff.
And so, and first thing I noticed is that you have it, you got that rig crimped. And so yes. A lot of people, make the comment they're scared to crimp on each end of a demon dragon that they might pull apart. Well, I can tell you, the skip weighs more than 85 pounds, and he was pulling with all his might. And that fish was pulling with everything it's got, and that brute didn't come apart. Yeah. And they won't. I mean, not to say that they can't. It's manufacturing. I mean, flaw could happen, but that's not the.
And I don't know if you noticed or not, but I didn't snail it. I used where you just stick it through and then crimp it, but it still has the trigger effect. You know what I mean?
What leader line are you using?
Huh? Now I am using 100-pound high seas. High seas,
100-pound.
Yep. Or no, wait a minute. Yeah, high seas, Grand Slam, 100-pound.
I think that's what the Creole uses. I'm not 100% sure.
I switched over to that a while back when I started the crimping. I like using the little bit heavier for the crimping. It just seems like it does better for me. Which I got all kinds of 80 laying around though. So I still have to use the 80.
The Cash King 80-pound saltwater is, I think, what me and Zach are both still using, and I like it because it's limber enough to tie if you want to tie. They tie good knots, but it's very strong, and it crimps really easy for me too.
I don't know if that's this might be a 10-aught. Yeah, I had a 10-aught. Usually with the bigger floats, I always put a
bigger hook.
The bigger hook, and usually try to put a bigger bait, but I didn't for some reason. I think this was actually one of the last rods I threw out, and that was laying on the that little SpongeBob was laying on the cutting board, and I was like, well, I ain't killing another shad just for a bigger bait, I just put it on there.
We'll have to. I know we've talked about baits before, but we'll have to maybe do a demonstration sometime on what that SpongeBob bait looks like. We got that name from Doc Lang.
Yeah. And if Doc has watched the video, I am sure he has laughed his butt off because he loves listening to me breathe.
Well, I can't say that I would be breathing any less, but because you had the microphone there, I mean, we can hear every breath.
I know it.
It was like that poor guy's about to have a heart attack.
I keep it right here. Yeah. I don't like the chest mount, so I use that neck mount. Actually, it's right here. I love it.
I'm thinking about getting one because I don't like chest mount either.
See?
And I think it's making me not.
It doesn't choke you. I've had several of these, and the other ones would always feel like they choke you. But this one here, there's no snap. You don't have to worry about a snap or nothing. You just slip it on.
It pops off.
And I keep it where where it's right there. Snap mount.
Oh,
that way if I want to take it off, I can. I like it.
Chad's in the house, says Skip is my hero. Great fish, buddy.
Thank you.
Harley Neal wants to know what brand that mount is for your neck.
I'll have to look that up for you, Roger. It doesn't have the name on it, but I'm sure it's in my Amazon. It wasn't very much, like $15 or something.
Yeah, there's a bunch of those out on like TikTok right now. They've got some like big magnets and stuff that will hold your phone, cameras, and all that kind of stuff. So it'd be cool. Yeah, Jeremy, I know we made a video somewhere about that.
Yeah, when we go up to the James next week, we'll have to show them how we cut those baits up, those great big ones.
Yeah, I'm hoping we could score some of them giant. Like I was watching Austin last night fish the Top Cat Challenge over on Catfish Weekly, and he said he had a gizzard shad. I think he said weighed 3 pounds.
Jeez, that's a football.
Wow. That's a nice one.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that big baits don't catch fish, because they do.
Right.
But
well, see, it's not really, to me, it's not really like that big a bait doesn't mean I'm going to use a giant bait. But those SpongeBob's, the backbone on the 3 pound shad, that's a big, thick chunk of meat with a lot of blood, a lot of slime in it. That's a lot of scent in that 1 inch and a half by inch and a half cube. Whereas a 4-inch gizzard shad, you try to cut that, you've got a little sliver of meat. It's not putting out a lot of scent.
That's the advantage. Is I think it's either way, they'll both catch fish probably about the same when you first throw them out. But if they've been out there for 30 minutes or an hour or something, yeah, that's when that bigger bait probably is, going to get their attention a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Skip, we talked a little bit before the show about some of the questions that have popped up, either in the comments of the video or just through telling your story. And if you don't mind sharing some of those questions with everybody, I think some of these people may have the questions themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So probably one of the most asked question I get from non-catfish people, non-cat fishermen, is how long did it take to get a fish like that in? And it got me thinking about it. To me, like I was telling you guys, it seemed like it was at least 15 minutes or so. I mean, it seemed like it took forever,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
But because of all the things I was panicking about and worried it was going to get off. So I actually timed it from the time that I touched the reel, as soon as I grabbed the handle and started cranking till it was when I said, yes, it's in the net, and I don't know, you want to let some people guess or
we could do that.
Just go for it.
How long do you guys think it really took him to put the fish in the boat? Now they already know it wasn't 15 minutes because you done alluded to that.
Yeah, I kind of messed that up.
But I love this comment from Jerry here. It says fish was well deserved. Skip puts in his time.
Well, I tell you, this year I haven't put in as much time as
but
as usual.
Guys like Jerry know that they've been watching you for a long time. Know that.
Thank you, Jerry.
Dave Funk's in the house says that's a monster, Skip.
Yeah, Dave.
Hey,
I'm coming after your flathead, Dave.
You got a few guesses in here. Michael says 25 minutes. Benoit says 4 minutes. Creel says 6 minutes. Stonefly says 5.5. Catfish with us says 4 minutes, or catchfish with us. So
okay,
we got some of them pretty close there.
Some of them close, yeah.
Ain't nobody gonna hit it dead on the money because you got to clear down to the millisecond. Ain't nobody gonna get that.
No.
Uncle Lou says 12 minutes.
You want me to go ahead and say it? Oh man, they're still popping in, ain't they? 7
minutes, 9 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. So some of you guys have caught some big fish and know that it really doesn't take as long as what like you hear about these guys deep sea fishing. half an hour on a fish.
Yeah,
we're catching these fish, and it's like, come
2
on,
hours,
Chad.
like 2 minutes.
I thought that'd be staying in there, throwing the 2 hours and 22 minutes in there.
So I'll just go ahead and say it was 4 minutes, 56 seconds, and 7.75 or whatever that is.
3/4 of it.
So that's how almost 5 minutes. About 3 seconds shy of 4 minutes.
Hardy wants to know if your middle name's Jack.
Skip Jack.
Skip Jack.
Skip Jack. Oh, okay. That went over my head.
Your dad just called me twice.
So another question I always get is, how did you get it in the boat? We all seen I struggled, but I got it in there.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of times we have 2 of us, and it's definitely much easier with 2 guys.
You should have called me.
And then the other one is, do you eat a fish like that? And of course, I always tell them that we don't eat them. We just get our picture and put them back. And they go, huh?
Yeah, you get some funny comments when they realize how much money and time we spend just to catch a fish and take a picture of it and turn it free.
Yeah.
Now, Dead Sea Pirates here wants to know what kind of rod you was using.
That was a Big Cat Fever, Catch the Fever, Big Cat Fever series. That's what the older ones before. They've changed them now. They're Zach Royce editions, and the Zach Royces are different. They're lighter, I believe, and I don't know about the action, but that is probably my favorite rod. I've got them all. You guys know I've got from medium lights, mediums, the medium heavy, the heavy, and the extra heavy. And that medium heavy is my favorite all around rod. I just love it. And it's really funny, Roger, because when I first started fishing with you, I had a couple of ripping lips. I think nothing against ripping lips, but and then I had I think the other 2 I had were the big games. I think
Berkeley
from
Big Game,
Walmart, and you told me, you said, yeah, come along with me. I got all different kinds of rods. You can try them out, and the very first fish I ever caught on that Big Cat Fever you had, I didn't like the action because it was so limber. All of mine seemed to be heavier, stiffer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, I know what I had. I take it back. It wasn't the ripping lips. It was those tangling with catfish.
Oh yeah.
And they were lots, but they're a good rod too. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. Over time, I think another time I was with you and used that again, and then I started learning how having a softer rod can actually be beneficial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, stays hooked up.
So when we went to the very first time I was at CatCon, I got me a couple of them, and man, I've loved those rods ever since I got them. And I think I got 4 of the medium heavies, and then I got some. Now the Hellcat medium heavies, they are a little more limber, and they're lighter. I do like the lighterness of the rod, just handling it wise. It's just lighter. But when it comes down to those originals are definitely my favorite.
Creel wants to know, how deep was the water you set up on?
I believe.
Welcome in, Charlie. Not it.
42.
30 or 40, 42, 43, something like that. Yeah, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, Charlie, this fish here, he marked a fish on some structure that he had checked out time and time again, and he'd seen a fish down there. Now, we don't know for sure if he caught the exact fish he saw, but he set up on the structure and caught a fish and a dandy.
Yeah. Now
Nobody
the very first time I ever fished that spot, when I caught that 60, I did mark a big fish.
Yeah.
That was before I had the live scope. That was just on my regular.
Yeah, you marked 2 fish there.
Yeah. And
60. You caught them both.
and yeah, that was the first time that I'd ever, and that was right after we was out with Chris. Remember, Zach, and he kept stating all day. He said, "Find the fish, catch the fish. Find the fish, catch the fish."
Yeah,
and
we still say that.
Yeah, and that was the first time I'd ever really put it all into, because I was scanning for fish, and then I marked it, and I set up on it, and then caught it. And,
that's
a
great feeling. No matter what the size of fish is, that's that sense of accomplishment. Zach and I still talk about a flathead we found down in Alabama that you got to take it.
Yeah, just real quick.
Go ahead.
You want me?
Yeah, I got you. I'll get you. I'll mute you.
Hello.
All right. Well, we'll let him take care of that right there. We'll move him around.
Yeah, we'll talk about that flathead we saw.
Yeah. So go ahead, Zach. You've been awfully quiet.
I'm just listening, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
What was the name? That Sheffield was the name of that town where we launched from.
Yep.
And Doc Lang had told us about this one area. He said for some reason, he said he couldn't tell us. He never figured out why, but he said it holds flatheads right there in that area. So,
and rock instead of wood.
Yeah. And anyway, Doc wasn't with us that day. He was with us the previous day. And we was just out, doing the find the fish, catch the fish. And we were just kind of cruising really, really slow, scanning, using, all of our electronics. And I mean, it was like a picture. There was a flathead. I mean, you could see, you knew it was a flathead because of its tail. Its tail didn't have a V. I mean, it was just one of those, everything, it was just turned right, where you could see everything on the side scan. But you could see its tail, man. It was just flat on the end of it instead of a V. And I was like, Roger, look at this. Look at this. So look at this fish. I said, what kind of fish you think that is? It was that obvious. I mean, anybody could have seen it. It was just like a picture. Yeah. And we set up on it. I told you how many feet it was back, exactly, where to throw. I don't remember how many feet it was, but, we normally shoot we didn't go, normally we set up, we try to use 80 feet, but we didn't go that far. It seemed like it was 50 something.
50 or 60. That's the day you taught me about the Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah.
Because I had a line counter reel and I said, I think we were talking about how far I need to cast back to hit that thing. And you told me what the Pythagorean theorem was and how it worked. I was like, what? And you told me how many feet I needed out. I sent it out in my line counter till it said that. And we put that fish in the boat in a matter of minutes.
Yep. It didn't take long.
Benoit Fishing in here just talking about how much they've enjoyed the video, yelling at the TV, and Creole saying he's getting up on the edge of his seat when the fish was going underneath the boat. And that's with us knowing that he lands the fish. And but that's how excited the video was. So again, if you haven't checked it out, when we're done here tonight, do yourself a minute. It's only about a 10-minute video. You can check out the video and see what all the hype's about and kind of relive it. Because I've watched it probably 3 times now, 4 maybe. And just excited. Dead Sea Pirates wants to know, how many years have you fished that area? I think we fished that area for probably 4 years. 4 or 5 years. Me, I'm not used to that area as much as you guys are, or you are, but I didn't start fishing down there till probably 4 years ago, 5.
I started fishing down there a year and a half or something before that, because remember I was going down there. It's where I started drifting a lot, or doing a lot of suspend drifting and stuff, and in the fall and summer, and just had a ball down there in that basic area.
My first trip down there, that's that's what we were doing. You were showing me how to suspend drift, and we put some fish in the boat. Had a good time.
Well, down at the Area 3 down there, that's where Skip got one of his PBs down there.
Yep,
with my fishing pole.
Yeah.
Well, we we were suspend drifting down this ledge, and we hit a spot, and was it 3 rods went down that time?
Yeah,
I think it was 3 or 4 rods went down. It was, I mean, it's just like a whole bunch.
Yeah,
and,
they was all
on my side. Anyway, I was reeling one up and said, and one of the other rods was. You couldn't tell it was a big giant fish or anything. It just looked like all the rest of them. But I told Skip, I said, Skip, grab that rod, grab it. And he started reeling down on it. And immediately he knew it was a big fish, though. And he's like, this is a big one. You better take this one. I know, you started. It wouldn't have been a PB for me at the time. But
it was me. It was a 46-pounder. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd already been down to, I think mine was like 50 something back then because of our trip down to Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We had, seems like that year we caught so many 46s. It was just a whole bunch of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which way is that? Your fun way to fish? You talk about setting up and finding them, or you talk about suspend drifting? Not it. That's Charlie, I believe. I was trying to think. I know you had some other questions people ask, like about fish that size. But really, I'm thinking about, where these fish typically like to hide, suspend drifting. I got you. I like suspend drift, but honestly, suspend drifting, I think, is probably I don't know, it might be my least favorite way. My favorite way to catch a fish is bumping. The second is dragging. I do like anchoring, man. I think I like anchoring more than suspend drifting, but at times suspend drifting is what you need to be doing. And so it depends on what the conditions are. Whatever the conditions call for, that's what we're going to do. But that's probably my preference in order. Altera.
It seems like after the winter, and we've done, because in the wintertime, we're just anchored most of the time, just about all the time. Seems like by the end of the winter, I'm ready to start dragging. I want to, it's like, you just get tired of doing the same thing all the time, I think.
Yeah. How shallow will you suspend drift? 10?
Yeah. I don't know. It don't seem to be as effective when it gets that, like the upper teens.
Yeah, I was going to say it has to be over 10 for me. I prefer 15 and more.
15 or more.
Yeah, because I think the boat really affects the fish when it gets that shallow.
And it also depends on if we're running a trolling motor. So 9 times out of 10 for us, suspend drifting means pointing our trolling motor upriver and slowing the boat down just a little bit, because all three of us like to use the planer boards.
That and it also, if you slow it down a little bit, it gets that scent out ahead of you too.
Mm-hmm.
It gives them, it like gets their attention. They start smelling your bait before you get to it. Whereas if you're just free drifting, you're not slowing your boat down any. I just always feel like that's not quite as effective. Yeah, and using the boards. Yeah, I really like using the boards. That's suspend drifting with the boards. It takes some practice, big time. Actually, it takes a while to get used to. You don't want to start off with a whole bunch of boards. Just start off with one or something like that, and just suspend your other ones and stuff. But we got. Seems like here in the last couple of years, we've gotten a lot more efficient and more effective using the boards for dragging and for suspending.
I think we catch a lot more fish on the boards both ways, dragging and drifting, I believe. Or like even when we're drifting, if we have a line on our just regular straight behind floats, if we get them out ahead of the boat, because that trolling motor does spook fish. It could be 15 foot of water. I've watched videos. I've watched Justin Johnson on Kayak Catfish using live scope and see fish spook at 30 feet. So some fish are obviously going to be more skittish than others for whatever reasons. They can have different traits just like the rest of us. But For me personally, it's about 15 foot of water or more what I would want to suspend drift in. Anything less than that, I'm going to try something else.
The first couple times I used my live scope, trying to catch bait, I've seen them do that. It's like the whole school would stay, 20, 30 foot in front of you, you know what I mean? Until you killed the motor, and then you could kind of get close enough to get on them. But yeah, it does. The motor does spook fish, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you've got that newer one now, right, Zach? Brushless.
It's quieter. I mean,
I bet
it's a lot quieter.
And I got a buddy. Not just the motor part, but the part that turns it and stuff. It's like silent, man. The other one, it was noisy.
I got a buddy that used to have a Trova, and now he's got the Kraken, the Garmin Kraken, and he said it's like super quiet compared to what his Trova was. Of course, he had the older model Trova.
Right. Yeah. The brushless stuff is obviously going to be, more energy. His Quest there, man, it's so powerful. It doesn't know what to do with itself. You jog it to the left, it's like, it's every time.
Yeah. I hope they make Humminbirds make some kind of improvement on that, because it's too radical, man. It's just got maybe I could change the prop or something where it wouldn't be as rowdy or something. It is. We saw a really good example of it here the other day. You get in certain conditions, man, and that thing, if you're up there throwing a cast net or something, you got to be careful, because it's got a lot more power than what it just, everything happens quicker. It turns quicker.
Yeah. It's like all or nothing.
Yeah.
I hit jog over like twice, and it was like, about threw him out the front of the boat. He was looking at me like, what the heck are you doing? I'm like, I'm just jogging.
Could it be the bow scale?
We thought about that.
With the newer motor, it might be different.
It is different. It's a
whole
different.
They
did the setup, and I was going to, and I never did. I was going to get the book out there the other day, because I probably could make some adjustments. I don't know that they call it boat scale, but they have a new name for it. But it's basically the same thing, I believe. But
I know.
Yeah, I just got to where I really knew the other one. Now they come out with something new.
Yeah,
and you got to relearn everything.
I'm going to wait for you to get, like you did Humminbird, I'm going to wait for you to get real good at it and teach me, and then I'll go to
that. Now, you're talking about the Kraken. I mean, there's a lot of good trolling motors out there. Kraken, I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
The Ghost.
Ghost. I heard good stuff about that. But, if I think the big advantage, for the biggest reason, I didn't even consider anything else, because I'm using Humminbird units. And whenever you lay down tracks and so forth, I can see them. I can see them right on the screen. I don't just have to, go by use my remote or whatever. It all goes together.
Yeah.
And for Humminbird, I feel like you're really doing yourself a disservice if you're going to go with the high pilot link, system, where it'll do all that stuff. It's such an advantage, man, because you can, especially with either the Navionics, or if you do your own mapping like we have to around here. A lot of times, in the past, we've laid down tracks, and we would see, after we laid the track down, it's like, hey man, we're not exactly where we needed to be. And we wouldn't have known that if you couldn't see the line on there and be able to see that ledge or whatever. It makes it a lot more convenient. You can be more effective. That's I mean, you can go out and catch fish, out in the middle of the river that's 80 pounds. We've seen people do it, but is that the most effective way? No. All these not their niceties, but they make us more efficient. The fancy trolling motors and all that stuff. You do not have to have all that stuff, but we get older, and seems like we get stupid too. So this kind of makes up the difference a little bit, you know.
You recognize that guy?
I do not.
That's who caught the 100-pounder down on the Ohio a couple of days ago.
Oh, really?
He fishes a lot. He fishes the river rat circuit a lot.
Was it just 100 or was it over?
I didn't get any details. I just got this picture.
You know, the record's 101. So
yeah, I don't know.
And it don't even have its belly don't even look that full.
No, it looks like it could eat a couple carp real easy. Yeah, Kevin sent this to me a little bit ago, and I thought I'd show it up here and share it with you.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a big one. Jeremy says the big debate I'm having right now is what system on the new boat. I want everything to work together. Humminbird Minn Kota or all Garmin. Here's my 2 cents, and you can take it for what it's worth. I think we said this a few shows ago, and but when it comes to trolling motors, and Skip can vouch for this, when it comes to trolling motors, the Kraken and the Ghost, they may be great, they might be, and they might not have any problems. But if you do have a problem, there are not any certified dealers or technicians around for those name brands yet. If there are, they're very few and far between. Whereas Minn Kota has been around for such a long time, parts are easy to come by. You can find certified technicians that will do warranty work on them, and you normally don't have to go very far to find one. And for me, that peace of mind, knowing that if I do have a problem with my trolling motor, I should be able to get it fixed relatively quickly and back on the water, soon. Those other name brands, you may want to do some research in wherever area you are. Let's say you are thinking about going with the all Garmin. You may want to do some research and find out, are there any certified technicians for the Garmin Kraken that are nearby, that if you do have a problem, you can get it taken care of relatively quickly. Because to my knowledge, the certified technician count for both of those are very, very low because they're still so very new, as opposed to Minn Kota. And so if you don't have any other dogs in the fight, consider that when it comes to choosing which name brand. In my opinion, that's my opinion. And that's, you can take it for what it's worth. But his scale was bouncing around 100. He couldn't fit it in his live well, and he was worried about the well-being of the fish, so he didn't even try to get it certified.
Wow,
that's awesome. It's unfortunate that he doesn't get the credit if it is a state certified fish, but the fact that he put the fish's live well over his name in a book for a day, or not a day, but his name in the book, get a pat on the back, because that's really all it comes down to. You get a state record, unless you're using a certain name brand rod, and you might get some kickback from the rod company. But outside of that, is it what's worth it? What's worth a fish's life of that size? And to most of us, this guy's a high river fisherman, and he fishes a lot of these tournaments with us. He knows how rare and how important that fish is to put back in the water to make sure we have more fish like this later down the road. And he did just that by turning that thing free. So hats off to him. I'm not gonna put his name out there because I don't know if he wants his name out there, so I'll just leave it alone. But the closest Minn Kota technician is 2 hours away. Other brands, yeah, right. That's what I'm saying, Jeremy. 2 hours away is a big deal for most people. I know for you, traveling that distance ain't a big deal. But how fast do you want that Minn Kota back? How long can you go without a trolling motor? And that's where you need to do your homework and find out where these technicians are, what the turnaround time is on repair work.
Yeah, there's a place right here in Wheelersburg.
Yep, Zach gets his fixed right there. I've gone with Skip. Unfortunately, when he had his Altera, 2 or 3 times we had to take it to Columbus.
At least 2, maybe 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is an hour or so. Huh?
I haven't had no problems with my Trova yet.
Yeah.
The only problems I had was from absolute abuse.
Yeah.
I just use.
You can only put so many
much.
hours on those things where things start going wrong. I mean, it's,
it's look at all the stuff I've hit and run into, and docks that we've hit, and all that kind of stuff. Pretty rough on stuff sometimes.
Jeremy, I'm really digging. Zach has the new Quest, and I'm really liking it. Like you said, there was a couple little bugs in there which could be something we can figure out. We aren't the sharpest knives in the drawer when it comes to technology, but that may be a setting that we can offset. But as far as pure power and longevity, that brushless motor is super quiet. It puts out a lot of power. And I don't know, Zach, if you've done any research on how many amps that thing's pulling, but I'm guessing it's going to be a far less than your old.
Well, for the same speed, yes. For the same travel speed and all that stuff, yes. It draws a little bit less. It's just because of efficiency is where you're getting. But that thing actually has more thrust.
Oh yeah.
It does. When you hit 10, now when you turn it up to 10, the thing is, it's more like about 8.5 on the other one. Or on the new one, 8.5 equals like about 10 on the other one, on the older one. As far as how many amps it draws, it draws a little bit more up at the top. But if you want to go, say you go 3 mile an hour, this new motor pulls less at 3 mile an hour. It has less amperage draw. But
so Bob Britt actually called me today because he was questioning the amp draw and the run time for his AGM batteries on his Turova 112 36 volt, because that's what I've had. I just went to lithium just a couple months ago, and we were talking about amp draw and hours and things like that. And when you get a lithium, like mine have Bluetooth capability, I was watching my Bluetooth amp draw as I was running my trolling motor, and you wouldn't believe the ampage jump when you go from a 7 to an 8 to a 9 to a 10. 10 is like it's like I can't remember what I thought it was, almost like 30 some, almost 40 amps it was pulling at 10, but it was only like 17 on a 7.
Big difference.
It's huge. It basically doubled. So if you can stay out of the 8, 9, 10 range, you're going to get far, far better performance out of your batteries. But it's all simple math. If you have 100 amp hour batteries, you look at what your amp draw is at, let's say on 10, it'll do the math for you. I mean, it's usually pretty easy to figure out. Zach and I had figured out on his graphs how many amps that you was running a 15, a 12, and a 10 off the same battery at one point. And I think we were up to 10 or 12 amps.
I don't remember all the math, honestly.
We did the math, and we were like, we can only fish one day on a 100 amp hour battery, and you've got to recharge it. Yep. You can't go 2 days.
It wasn't 12-hour day either. It was like 9.5 or 10 or something like that.
It was over 10 was the number.
So that's why I went with the bigger. Now I've got a 140 amp battery, and we can run a lot longer with that.
I'd like to address Crill's.
I bet you would.
About the Altera. I will say that all the times that mine had problems was because of freezing or cold weather fishing. Other than that, I loved that motor. I loved not having to get up and deploy it. I loved that I could trim it up when I get in shallow water. I loved everything about that motor, except it didn't like cold weather. And I like fishing in the cold weather. I like fishing in the winter. And when they did do the repairs, most of the time they use beefier stuff. Remember that, Roger? So I do believe they've upgraded their parts that they were having issues with.
Right.
And I don't believe you have to worry about freezing conditions And so, I wouldn't be so afraid of it, Creel.
I do know this also, that the new Altera Quest, they do have a lever on those that you can flip, that if you do get stuck
in release.
Nice.
In a release,
nice.
and you could stow it. So like those of you that were watching a couple weeks ago, Daryl was doing the Dragon Seek tournament, and he could not get his Altera to stow. He couldn't stow the motor to power up and run to another area that he wanted to go fish. He basically had to just keep dragging the area he was in because he didn't have the time in the tournament to fix it and figure it out. Not much ice here. No, hey, Harley also said,
I didn't think he had that to worry about.
Harley also said, get your 80-pound sticker from Catfish Clothing.
Yeah, I seen that.
Unless you plan on getting a tattoo.
No tattoos here.
You need to save up and get you a replica made, man. That's fish of a lifetime there.
My neighbor was telling me that there's a guy out here on Three Locks Road that actually does that.
Really?
I thought about, I've got the length and girth. Actually, I was wanting to go over that too.
Yeah. I remember you talked about some of that research here. For those of you guys that are still sticking around, appreciate you.
The 60 that I caught almost 4 years ago, I didn't have the girth on it, but I have the length, and it was 50 inches long. The 65 I caught 3 months later was 48 3/8 long. And I did have the girth on it. It was 32 1/4. And then this 85 was 54 inches long and 34 girth. But I think when we measured the 65, we actually pinched the tail, and you get another half inch when you do that,
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that on the 85 because I was taking a picture of the tape.
Yeah.
I was taking a picture of it, so I couldn't actually squeeze it. And I didn't even think to squeeze it, but I might have got a little longer. And believe it or not, an inch is huge when you do that calculation. But I found a chart. I found a chart that does. So it says, the 34 with girth by the 55 length, it says 79. And I found another one that said like 80 or 81. Yeah, there's different ones. And so I actually ran across this guy on YouTube, and
DNR has the charts too. That's where I looked it up on DNR before.
Yeah, the formula is pretty close. It's obviously it's not foolproof, but it's pretty close.
I thought that too, but then I watched this guy here. Let me find the picture. I took a screenshot of it.
Jeremy says, Skip, you'll get your hundo before too long. That'll be your replica fish. Just hold out.
Well, if I can figure out how to work my camera here.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so this guy, it's called Three Rivers Fishing Adventure. That's his YouTube channel. He said, how to estimate the weight of any size catfish without a scale. He's got a video, and he's done his own little study like on this. And he says to add 10%. And when you do that with mine, the math, it's right around where it was at, actually, I think it comes more like 88. I don't know. That was his. And then that's where I found this article that I would like to read. It's kind of short.
Okay. So
they did a study in Kentucky Lake and Fort Loudon. They found that the waters were there. Catfish grew, had a huge impact on their size. On an average, a 10-year-old fish in Fort Loudon was 17.4 inches, while the same age fish was 27.7 inches in Kentucky Lake. The oldest fish, the study from Fort Loudon, was 33 and was 34.4 inches, while the oldest fish from Kentucky was only 11 and was 29.1 inches. So younger, shorter, but heavier at Kentucky Lake. So, it kind of tells me that it just depends on your body of water, really, on a lot
you're
of
right.
that. Let's see. But it also says that, their weight, however, increases very slowly until they are about 8 years old, at which point the average 5 pounds and becomes productively active after 17 inches. So they don't even start reproducing, I guess, right? Until they're 5 years old. That's what that's saying, right?
Until they're 5 years old?
Reproductive, yeah. Or no, 5 pounds and 17 inches.
I think that's right around the same. It's about the same. So I always thought it was between 5 and 8 years old is when they start reproducing.
Yeah,
it says 8 years old, and
Okay, there you go.
So from that point, mainly of diet shift, they put on weight at an amazing rate. At age 10, they averaged 10 pounds. At 12, 20 pounds. At 13, 30 pounds. Some fish reach 50 pounds by age 11.
Wow.
Although age 13 and 14 is more typical.
I mean, that if you think about the growth rate on Hoover, the growth rate on Hoover is averaging over 4 pounds.
Yes.
Well, that's an average. So we've got fish averaging over 5 pounds, and of course, fish averaging, down around 2 or 3 pounds, I'm sure, to get an average of 4. And those fish have been in there for 11 years. So there's 50s and 60s.
Actually, more than that now, if you think about it.
Oh, yeah, 2011.
2011, yeah. It's been 12 or 13 years now, I think.
Yeah.
The oldest recorded fish in Virginia was 25 years old. And I also got something where they have a thing in their ear.
It's a bone.
Yeah, and it does a ring, like every year that it's
like
that's the only way they can tell
exactly
the exact year. Yeah.
Kevin's right on here too. He says, I think a lot would depend on their food source. If skipjack or their food source, they may have a higher oil or fat content versus if their primary diet was just shad. So,
and that was another question that people have asked me too. I forgot that, how old is a fish? Like, how old is a fish that weighs that much? And I was like, well, I don't really know, but like here, this one here in Alabama, a fish at 80 pounds was 25 years old. So, that fish that I caught could be anywhere from, I think there was another one. Yeah. 20 years, 20 to 25 years old. I mean, and that typically, this was the other thing. A blue catfish generally lives around 8 to 10 years, but some can reach up to 25 years. So it's only the ones with the great genes, I guess, just like a deer, that end up being the 85 pounders, 60, 85 pounders, right? Yeah, that's Harley. What it's called. Harley. I can't even pronounce it.
I don't know what is it?
Autolophone.
Harley showing up with the science tonight. Yeah, Jeremy says food type, availability, overall population, lots of factors to consider.
Yes, there is. And bodies, in the different bodies of water.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one other thing I wanted to, I don't know what I've done with that one. Oh, yeah, right here. So the world record, which was 143 pounds, it was 57 inches. 57 inches long.
Really? Jeremy's saying that the Mississippi state record is 131 pounds. They're saying it was only 17 years old.
What was it again?
Jeremy said supposedly the 131-pound Mississippi state record caught last year was aged to only be 17 years old. He said he's not quite sure about that, though.
Wow. And then the record before the girl broke it with the jug in Ohio, 96 pound. It was that for years. I believe it was 2009 was when that carried clear up until this year, Yeah,
there's a lot of people still upset about that fish and the fact that the jugfish takes the state record, over rod and reel.
It was only 54.5 inches long.
What was?
The 96 pounder that used to be the high record.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So, I think it just depends on the fish, really, when it comes to that length and girth stuff, I mean, it's going to get you in the ballpark.
But,
right. But, maybe it's only an 80-pound fish and it just ate a 7-pound fish, or, or 5-pound fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I tell people. I'm only, 225 till I take a poop. Then I'm 220.
And then let's see.
I'm not 220. I'm two.
Yeah, I think that's all I had. But I definitely had an amazing year. 3 PBs this year.
Yeah, trifecta.
Trifecta. A 53-pound flathead, a 24.9 channel cat, and now an 85-pound blue cat. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's hard to beat.
Yeah.
Jeremy says their 101-pound blue was 58.5 inches long.
Nice.
That's 101 pounds. Yeah, you've definitely had a stellar year. You might want to put together some kind of little video or something, montage of
all three of those. I've been thinking about that.
Trifecta for biggest fish of your life.
2024. There
you go. Harley says it right there. It's official. Skip is a legend.
Oh, no. Hey, I did have the catfish dude commented on my video, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Steve Douglas said, what was it? Thanks for the monster rod hold and hydro web love.
Yeah. There you go. Already says he'll help you do the video, Skipper.
All righty.
Talk about videography. That dude knows what's up.
Yeah, he is good.
That's that's the best voice talent you can find right there.
Yeah.
Harley.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I'm going to have to put these kids to bed, and I know Zach's got to get up early and head to work, and we sure do appreciate you guys stopping and hanging out with us tonight. Skip, thanks for sharing your story. Zach, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us, and I don't know, it's just good having all three of us together, even if it's just on screen for right now.
Yeah.
So, but guys, thanks again for tuning in. Next week, I'm not 100% sure we're going to be able to pull a show off. It is Christmas Eve. We will have the kids here at the house. I will most likely be tied up with kids' activities. If we could pull off a show, I might hop on here, maybe not do a whole show, but maybe just have a little fun. But if not, Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you all for being here and being part of the show. And we don't catch you next week. We'll be back soon after that because Zach and
Saturday we're going to be on. I don't know whose channel we'll be on. But
I'm not sure whose channel we're on. Yeah, Saturday we're doing the holiday Fishmas Bash or whatever it is. I don't even know what the rules are. We're fishing Saturday.
Yep, we're using shad probably.
Shad, we're taking Skip with us.
Saturday? I don't know what I'm doing Saturday.
River Warriors mount up. There you go. All right, guys, we're going to head on out of here. We'll see you next time. Till then.
All right.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.